Hey, what up y'all? Mr. Cruz here, your friendly neighborhood producer, back with another video. And in today's video, we are taking a look at DLYM, a delay modulation plugin from Imaginando. Let's go. Now, most of y'all know that I'm Puerto Rican, so like I look here and then I see it's Imaginando. Like you might say Imaginando, but I'm Puerto Rican, so let me flex my Spanish for a little bit. So this plugin is a delay modulation plugin called DLYM. What it does is it's pretty much a chorus, flanger, phaser, all kind of thrown in one. And each one of those is a form of delay modulation, which is kind of odd. It's just, we kind of associate delay with like an echo, but a phaser, a flanger, a chorus is all a delay. It's just happening in a very short amount of time that kind of gives it that phasey, spread out, weird kind of sound that chorus, flanger, and phasers give us. So before we actually get into it, let's go ahead and go over some of these parameters. The time parameter here gives us a length of the delay. And notice how this one with the time does not give us a sync option like most delay plugins give us. Again, because this is a delay modulation plugin, it's going to give it to us in very short amounts of time, so you can really only kind of, I guess that would be 1 second, and all of these would be like different kinds of milliseconds or fractions of a second. So that's what it's going to give us here. So here is really where the sweet spot is going to be, when it's less than a second. And feedback, much like we see in other plugins that have feedback, is how much of the signal is going to be fed back into our modulation. Sync, you can turn this on and off depending on what the rate of the modulation is going to be. Depth allows you to take into the account how deep the modulation is going to affect the delay. And this here you have a wave option, which I've never seen before, which allows you to take into account different types of waveforms. So you have sine, you have square, you have a sawtooth, you have a triangle wave, you have a sample and hold, and this is the filtered sample and hold, FS and H. Spread allows you to control the amount of delay as to whether it's going to be mono, which would be all the way to the left, or fully stereo, which is going to be all the way to the right. And then crossover, this one's kind of odd to me because I don't know why they called it crossover, but what this is actually a filter. So if you turn it all the way to the left, it's going to incorporate the entire spectrum of the frequencies. If you turn it all the way to the right, this is pretty much going to filter out the low end of the frequency. And then you have your dry wet knob. Oh, and then mode down here allows you to pick between analog emulation or a dimension style. Not quite sure what dimension style is, but we'll find out. And then up here, it gives you some presets. It actually gives you a lot of presets to be able to choose from, which is great. And this button right here gives you the ability to randomize all of the parameters. So selecting this over and over and over again will just randomize all of the selections that we have here. So let's go ahead and start with the default, and then let's move around with some of the presets and see what we can come up with. So we're going to be throwing this on this beat right here. Specifically, we're going to be throwing it on the piano. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, I typically try to find something good to say about a plugin. This one, okay. It just seems to me that a lot of the presets are kind of trash. Like I don't like the sound that's coming out of it. However, I do think that that's predominantly because when it comes to chorus or delays and flangers and all that stuff, usually what ends up happening is that the pitch of your signal ends up being modified. And most plugins will allow you to compensate for that. And this one doesn't really give us an option to compensate or take into account fixing the pitch that becomes affected from like a chorus or a flanger and whatnot. So that's really the thing that I don't like. I could see myself throwing this on some sort of instrument and then really cutting back on the dry wet knob or cutting back on the mix. But overall, meh. But before we do that, let's go ahead and see if we can kind of mess around and come up with our own patch, see if we can get our piano to sound kind of dope. Ooh, I kind of like that right there, how it's giving us, let me go back to square. It's giving us like that kind of like reverse flutter effect. All right, so I actually kind of really like the way that that makes the piano sound, giving it that kind of like reverse cutoff of the sample kind of effect there. That's actually pretty cool. But other than that, I'm gonna leave a link in the description if you guys want to check this out. You could probably find some sort of use for it, but for something that's free, it's kind of hard to complain about it. However, I don't really think this is something that I would probably use on a regular basis, but go ahead and check it out. You might have some sort of use for it that I don't. Can also, we talk about how this little logo down here at the bottom kind of looks like the Iron Man logo. Well, that's what I got for you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of DLYM from Imaginando. Other than that, it's your boy, Mr. Cruz, out. Yo, before I go, I do want to tell you guys that I do have a free course, How to Sell Your Next Beat in 7 Days. It's an ebook showing you how I'm able to sell beats consistently. And in this one, I'm going to give you all the gems on helping you to sell your beat in the next 7 days. Again, it's 100% completely for free. Hit the link in the description. Peace.